Hello, everyone, and welcome to the season finale of The Top Cut. I'm host Wade Crimser-Ohano, and with me are Kyle Pukasukovic, Drew Holden, and Michael Bramawat. And today we have a special guest. We have the world's finalist himself, Masters, actually, Harrison Leven. How you doing, Harrison?
Good.
Harrison, we brought you on the show because, unfortunately, we didn't really get to spotlight you throughout our Worlds coverage, and we actually didn't get to, feature you in as many games as we would have liked. We really apologize for that, but now's your chance. Now's your opportunity to actually show the Pokemon community what you have to offer, and why you explain to us why you did so well throughout this entire season. Because this honestly was like the season of Leven. You completely dominated from start to finish, and you made it easily into. You qualified easily for the World Championships, and then obviously, you were a finalist at Worlds. Spoiler alert. So we will get to that.
Spoiler? What do you?
That's my new gimmick. All right, leave it alone.
It's 2 weeks.
Would you leave my gimmick alone?
Spoiler alert for anyone who's
work.
living under a rock.
Everybody's gonna start saying it soon. I guarantee it. So either way, we're gonna let you talk about that, but we are gonna also feature the season review. And actually, this is another perfect reason to bring you on the show. You, like I mentioned earlier, you dominated from start to finish throughout the show, and or throughout the season. I'm sorry. And we do want to get kind of your perspective on this season, and your perspective on how the format evolved and how you managed to keep up with the format and keep doing so well throughout the season. So either way, Harrison, the floor is yours. Please introduce yourself and talk about your accomplishments this season. Don't be humble.
My name's Harrison Leven. I've been playing competitively for about 5 years now. I really didn't win anything until maybe my first year in Masters, which was 2 seasons ago.
Mm-hmm.
I started out the gate and got about 100 points just from the autumn battle roads with Gyarados. I ended up missing the invite that year, got 47th. Next year was mediocre, and this year I actually started winning events bigger than cities. Won Florida Regionals back in November with Typhlosion Magnezone. Continued strong at cities with Chandelure Vileplume. Was mediocre at March and April states and regionals. With my best finish being 7-1 in Florida states, and then losing to top 16 to Jason Krasinski's Durant with Black and Plus Power. And then I was 12-0 at one point during Nationals. Got top 16 and lost to Brett and Brander on Game 2, and then on time in Game 3. And then I 5-2 bubbled into part at 15 seed at Worlds, and then got second.
Yeah, pretty long list of accomplishments. I'll say how much, and that's just in one season. So yeah, like I mentioned earlier, you just actually explained how you progressed throughout the season, and how you did struggle for a little bit, but Drew, your camera's frozen in a really funny pose, by the way.
He's kind of there.
But yeah, you progressed throughout the season, and yeah, you did have your a rocky moment in the season. At what point? Excuse me. At what point in the season did you begin to struggle? What was the format kind of looking like at that time?
That was actually when Next Destinies just came out.
So when Mewtwo had just started.
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't really like the whole playing 3 Mewtwo's in a deck thing, or playing CMT. The deck never works for me. It always just falls apart. So I never really had a real deck I wanted to play during states and regionals.
Okay. See, that's kind of interesting to me, because I also personally struggled quite a bit when Next Destinies came out, and during the entire states 3-week run, I don't know. I personally didn't like that the Mewtwo wars and the Mewtwo battles that people were getting into, and much like you, I did struggle. Did you feel like how do you feel like you overcame that that part of the season?
Dark Explorers came out, and then I started playing Neo Excelgor.
All right, that's reasonable. All right. So you actually did you ever? I mean, obviously towards the end, or with the Worlds run, you obviously started playing Mewtwo. But before that, did you play? Did you choose to play Mewtwo, or did you just choose to do it for Worlds because it was clearly the best deck?
During all of States, I was actually playing Mewtwo. Like, I just ended up playing it because there was almost nothing else. Except for the first week of States, Georgia States, I played Magnet Zone, went 5-2 and with cut there. But no, I played Mewtwo for the 2 other states and the Georgia regionals. I just didn't do well with it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, sometimes unfortunate runs happen too. Now, I do want to get into your Worlds run, your actual Worlds performances. Your deck choice, you chose to play Mewtwo Darkrai. Were you comfortable with your deck choice? Did you feel very confident with it, throughout the Swiss rounds and throughout cut?
Whatchamacallit, I actually got the deck finished and made at 2:30 a.m. before the tournament began.
We never learned.
Yeah. But yeah, I got the deck from Dustin Zimmerman, and we were going back and forth on 2 spots. Those 2 spots were a Seeker and a Cure, and then those 2 spots ended up becoming potions.
Okay. That's actually really cool.
Worked out better for you, I'm sure.
Yeah. The potions definitely had to be an improvement, at least for the metagame. But either way, Harrison,
towards the middle of the day.
I'm sorry?
Towards the middle of the day, though, when I was 3-1, I was starting to think to myself, why wasn't this a Seeker and a Cure right now? Because I played Excelgor round 2 and managed to somehow win that, but only because he continued to whiff DCE for like 3 turns in a row. But then I just never got to play against Excelgor or any paralysis block deck for the rest of the tournament.
Well, the Excelgor paralysis block deck, now obviously I wasn't there, but from what I've been hearing, it actually didn't make as big of a showing in Worlds as people expected, and it was underplayed compared to how good it might have been. Is that correct?
I think it was played. I think it was played as much as I was expecting it to.
Okay.
I think what happened with Excelgor was they cut to top 16 instead of top 32, and a lot of the Excelgor decks went like 5-2, and then they just didn't make it because that can happen with the deck sometimes. If you don't have the most consistent list, it can just kind of set up too slowly, and then by the time you're set up against a Darkrai deck, they might just be ahead too many prizes for you to win. You never actually set up the Chandelure and all that stuff. So I think a lot of them finished 5-2 and just didn't make it.
Okay. Yeah, that seems obviously that makes a little bit more sense because, like I mentioned, I did get a lot of feedback saying, you know what, I did expect Excelgor to be a big deal. Obviously, if Excelgor would have made the top cut, things might have completely changed because Excelgor seems to have had at least a reasonable matchup against most of the field in the top 16. But
there was one. There was one.
Yeah, there was one. Did it lose in top 16 or top 8?
Yeah, you lost to Yuta.
Yeah.
Top 16. Okay. Yeah, I apologize. There was one. But either way, Harrison, you managed to make it all the way to the finals. Before we speak of the finals match, do you have any interesting interesting matches that might have happened or interesting scenarios that might have happened in your top cut rounds that might have, I mean, maybe catapulted you into the finals?
I can say Jay Hornon got pissed at my potions.
Okay. How's that?
Like during, I think it was game 2, there were several times when he was really close to knocking out Smeargle with the extra 30 damage, but I think I prevented that knockout twice with 2 potions.
Oh, wow.
And the game ended with 1 prize card difference, I think.
So sick. Wow,
yeah,
that's actually...
at the end of the second game, I think, you played a potion on like the second to last turn to heal 30 off the Smeargle, and then catches out the Mewtwo and Night Spheres, and if the 30 damage was still on the Smeargle, you actually would have lost, but potion actually saved you the game.
So yeah, nice tech switch over there. Congratulations. So yeah, now we're gonna get to the finals. First of all, before we actually get to that, were you excited or were you nervous or anything, knowing that you were actually going to have your finals streamed, the finals of the World Championship streamed?
I don't know, like, it was, like, even at that point when I was waiting to go on stage, it just still didn't feel real yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was thinking, just treat it as another game. Don't try and get psyched out about it at all, although I ended up getting psyched out during Game 3.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, like I was trying to say, I was personally one of the guys sitting at home. We actually made a kind of like a little viewing party, and we all started watching the live stream, and we were all really excited. We had to, and we made actually a special mention of it, like you actually enjoying the moment, just like walking up, you know, cheering, like kind of like high fiving the people up front, just having a really good time. So you actually looked a lot more comfortable than, I mean, I think I personally would have been. I would have been shaking out and like, oh man.
I don't think the camera really caught it so well. Like, I was shaking the entire time. Like, towards the end, though.
All right. Well,
I think the more nerve-wracking part is just being on the stage.
Yeah.
I don't know if the camera has much to do with it. Now you probably don't even see the camera that much, but just being on stage in front of everybody.
I didn't get that at all, but I had to keep reminding myself to keep the cards back, or otherwise it can be shown on screen.
Yeah, I had to do that too when I was in the finals. Because, like, it's weird. Like, it's the overhead, but they're like, here.
Yeah. That's, yeah, like I was trying to say, that's got to be really nerve-wracking, really, like intense more than anything, like a really intense feeling. And, like, you say that you kind of, like, broke down at the end, like, but the truth is that you seemed, like, really, well, you and your opponent, because Igor did as well, you guys seemed really focused, really in the zone, and you guys played near flawless Pokemon for 3 straight games. But so Game 3 came around, and I mean the truth is there was a huge play, a giant play that completely changed the outcome of the match. And that play came when you decided, when you were ahead on prizes, or not on prizes but on board, and you decided to actually shift all your energies onto your Mewtwo and take a Mewtwo KO. That obviously ended up spiraling the game into what it ended up being, but how do you feel? I really want to get your opinion on that move, and I want to get your opinion on why you actually made that move, and if you feel it was correct or incorrect.
Okay, a bunch of people say, why didn't you just knock out the Mewtwo with Darkrai? I feel like the reason being I wanted to go for those energies that were on Darkrai because it was both a Prism and a Fighting. So it was set up to do Land Rush out of nowhere, not just to retaliate. So if I just knocked out the Mewtwo, my Darkrai, I feel like he could have easily benched Draken, Shaman, got to retaliate, knock out Fair, and then even if I did keep all my energies on the field afterwards, I would have to, if he plays Eviolite as well, so it needed an incredible amount of energy just to knock out its Vacuum. And I felt the energies were better to put into that Darkrai, because if I had also let Vacuum stay there, Vacuum probably would have also caught up another Darkrai and Land Rushed it. So instead of getting a 2-for-2 prize trade, I'd get 2 prizes and he would be able to get 4, just for the 1 Terrakion.
Yeah, I mean, it implies that he does have to have the Terrakion and everything, but you were thinking worst case scenario at that point, and if he does manage to have this setup, I might actually like just put myself in a really bad board position instead of kind of maintaining board parity. Now, granted, you are going to be losing a few more energies than your opponent will be, but he still has to actually have the Mewtwo's to be able to continue the Mewtwo war. So yeah, you're right. It definitely was unexpected, to be honest with you. It was one of those moments when I was just sitting there watching the game, just kind of, I mean, obviously really interested in it, but then out of the blue, you just happen to do that, and I'm like, what? What are you doing? You know? Because at first glance, you see you having an actual easy knockout, and the next thing you know, you're like, nope, forget the easy knockout. I'm going for that Darkrai. And I apologize, I mentioned you killed the Mewtwo earlier, but you actually killed the Darkrai. And yeah, you actually just went like, you're like, no, never mind. I'm going for that, you know, for the dude with the big energies on him. And obviously, it ended up being a huge play. I wasn't sure how the match was going to turn out at that point. But at the time, it did seem a little bit risky to me. But I definitely understand what you're saying. He definitely had 2 energies on it, and he could easily have a Land Crush knockout, or even, you know, something as simple as a Retaliate knockout once you knock out the Mewtwo. But it's interesting to get your point of view on it, because obviously, I'm sure that you've taken a look at the game already, haven't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sure you've taken a look at the game. I'm sure that you've studied it, and anybody would question themselves. Anybody would be like, oh, you know, maybe I made the wrong play or not. But if you're confident that, you know, that the board that you wanted board parity at that point, then that's really what matters most. And the truth is, it wasn't a misplay. It was just one of those really difficult situations to be in. And some people might have chosen to choose the Mewtwo. Some people might have chosen the Darkrai. And honestly, we can't know how either game or how the other game would have turned out. But it definitely wasn't a misplay. And I have heard a lot of people call it a gigantic misplay. And I don't think it was that. I definitely don't think it was that by any means. And I'm just glad that you had the opportunity to kind of clear the air. Kyle, Pram, Andrew, did you guys? Obviously, you guys all witnessed it. Were you guys as surprised as I was when he went for that Mewtwo knockout?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, before I say that, I just want to ask, Harrison, are you disappointed that your big run wasn't with Chandelure?
I'm upset I didn't win National with Chandelure. How about that?
Because, I mean, you were, like, the poster boy for Chandelure throughout the season. I think you were, like, the one who stuck by it throughout cities for the most part.
Yeah.
And then you had a good run at Nationals.
Even when the Ramp and Theorem were being played during cities, I still stuck with it.
Yeah.
Top board.
All right. So, you guys witnessed it? How did you guys feel about the play? And obviously now that he's explained it, obviously it makes a little bit more sense, or a lot more sense.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Kyle, Pram?
I was just kind of watching it with, like, I wasn't really analyzing. I was just kind of watching it for entertainment value. So, I thought it was fine. But, yeah.
It was definitely exciting, right?
Yeah, I had a good time watching it. It's fun, like, just being in the audience, and then, like, you're kind of like, it's weird because, like, when they put 3 games in front of you, you have to focus. You're trying to focus on all 3. So, but yeah, I definitely caught that moment. I thought it was really cool. So. Yeah.
What about you, Drew?
It was definitely surprising, and it definitely made it an entertaining match, like Pram said. It was really back and forth after that, so in that term, yeah, I loved it just for the entertainment value. It was surprising, though, especially considering you needed a plus power also to knock out the Darkrai, I believe, so you really went for it.
I Ultra Balled through the deck for the Shaman, I think it was. I checked and made sure all 4 Junk Arms and the other plus power were in there, since the plus power was already in the discard.
Okay, so yeah.
Those are the chances I could get.
Yeah, so you knew you could get it, but us watching, we're like, oh man. So, yeah. That's good.
Okay, that makes sense. What about you, Kyle?
Yeah, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, what's going on? It's like, you have all this energy, you had like 2 or 3 Pokemon powered up, and then it's all going on the Mewtwo. At first glance, it just seems like he's like opening the door for Igor to come back. But when you look at the fighting and the Prism on there, you can definitely see that the one thing that you never want to have happen is see that fully powered Terrakion with an Eviolite on it, because there's just no efficient way to deal with it. So I can definitely understand wanting to target down the energy. I don't think it was a bad play at all. And, I mean, he just happened to get unlucky as the game went on.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Now, there is one more situation that actually slipped my mind, and I just remembered it when you were talking about how you looked through how you Ultra Balled for your Shaman. At the very end of the game, you technically have 1 more Shaman left in the deck. You have 2 prizes left.
I noticed that it was a prize. Like, later in the game, I just, like, the pressure just got to me, and I couldn't remember if I had happened to take it off the prize or not.
Oh, man. Yeah. Now, granted, you were in a really difficult board position at that point, but obviously activating the Smeargle kind of sealed the deal, right? Because if I remember correctly, activating the Smeargle meant you couldn't retreat to a higher HP Pokemon.
Right.
Yeah, I think so. But either way, yeah, like having the Shaman prize, it was brutal. We all got the sense of like how heartbreaking it must have been to you, because you're sitting there. I mean, obviously, the pressure gets to you, and you're like, oh man, I wonder if the Shaman's prize or not. I forgot. And the truth is that probably in the back of your head, you're probably like, oh, I'm pretty sure it's prized, but I still got to check one more time. And then you check the Shaman's prize, and that's the end of the season for you. But ending the season as a finalist, ending the season with a trip to Vancouver for next year. That's pretty good. You know, you have to be pretty proud of that accomplishment and excited for next season, I'm sure. That's good. But yeah, I just want to really congratulate you. I have heard quite a bit from Kyle and my friends who have also played with you throughout the marathon and throughout the season, and they've all had nothing but good things to say about you, and they've all said that you're a very good player and that you were performing extremely well throughout the season. And it's just it's almost fitting for somebody like you, one of the younger players, one of the newer players, and Igor as well. Actually, I do wish we had Igor on the show as well today, but both of you guys performed so well, and you guys are both so young, and it's got to be inspirational to a lot of the seniors coming up in the division. But yeah, either way, congratulations. And now I do want to get kind of into quickly into how the season progressed for everybody, how the format progressed, and what we can expect to see out of next season. Because if we remember correctly, the season started with, I believe, before the Thunderdome. What was before the Thunderdome, guys? I can't remember.
Merging Powers was the that it came out. You had Gothitelle, Typhlosion, Reshiram, Magazone, Yon Mega, The Truth. Did I miss any? I don't think. Zekrom, Patchy, Shaman,
that
yeah.
deck was like brutal.
Kyle just rolls his eyes as he's talking about Zekrom. So yeah, we have all those decks. And at that point, what were the dominant decks in the format, and why do you guys feel like they dominated?
I think Magnezone Yon Mega was the best.
No, that was after. Or wait, no, it wasn't. That was
Ladder Roads Regionals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best.
You're right. It was prime time. It was the best deck in the format. You're absolutely right, because it actually.
I don't think it was clear cut the best.
It was probably the best performer in the format.
No, it wasn't.
What was?
Typhlosion.
Typhlosion was the best performer in the format?
Yeah, by far.
All right, I have a really bad memory. My apologies. So
even Harrison here won his regionals with Typhlosion Magnezone. So.
Woo! Typhlosion Magnezone. The deck that I despised at the beginning of the season. I couldn't actually figure out why people would choose to play the Magnezone and the Typhlosion. And Kyle actually decided to play it a few times, and I remember berating him quite a bit, just wondering why not just play Ninetales. It's more synergistic, etc., etc., etc. But hey, you obviously did really well with the deck. And
Magnezone can one-shot those things like Gothitelle and Donstamp.
Yeah, that is true.
That's
now, it's interesting how we could get away with playing a couple of stage 2s relatively easily. At the time, Embor Magnezone was also playable, and then we also prime time with stage 2 Magnezone and whatnot. And it's interesting, to see how slow that format really was and how quickly it sped up. Where exactly was the turning point for the speed?
Mewtwo.
That's an easy answer. Mewtwo.
I was really
All right, so the format. We're gonna skip my baby Thunderdome, which at one point in my opinion
was the best part. Why
Cities was like the best part of the format, man.
All right, guys, I'm just trying to get to PTCGO, all right? All right. So we have the city championships. We have the city marathons, fine, apparently. I actually went to the SoCal Marathon. Kyle went to the Florida Marathon. Pramawat did too. And actually, Kyle, you went to the Indiana Marathon too, right? Chicago Marathon?
I went to some of the Chicago Marathon. It's like an hour away from me.
Okay. But yeah, there were several marathons. And that was really this was the first season where this actually happened. This was the first season where people actually truly embraced what a week's worth of Pokemon would first of all would do to our health, and just everybody really enjoyed this time, and everybody made plans and spent vacation time on spending this week playing on city championships, and it was really cool. It was really, at least for myself, it was really really fun, and just having that environment with all of your friends for a week time span, it was different, and that's something that most people haven't had the chance to do before this season. With Florida obviously being able to do this a few times before. The city championship marathon actually was really interesting too, because you have a format at the beginning you have a metagame at the beginning of a marathon, and then slowly you see the metagame progress, and by the end of the marathon you see you see a very well-developed metagame within these this region. How did your Florida Marathon develop, guys?
The rant.
That's how it started.
Yeah, it started with Durant, correct?
Yeah.
And by the end of I remember Bianchi winning once with Typhlosion Magnezone.
Yeah.
How else did that format progress?
I'm upset because I think I lost to Jason because I didn't know what I was doing versus Durant at the time.
I think how it went was the first one, Jason beat Pram in the finals with Durant. And the second one, I think it was Luke.
Yeah.
I think he beat you, Harrison, in the finals of one of them. And then, so it was Durant. And then I think by the third day, people were like, all right, screw Durant. We're going to start teching for this deck. And Curry beat me in the finals of the third one. He was playing like Landorus, Electrode, Kyurem. So right there, you could already see people were starting to hate on Durant. There were a lot more Typhlosion decks. And then he started playing Landorus. And then from there, it was all sorts of stuff winning. It went back and forth between like Electrode stuff. I actually think that won like 2 or 3 of them. I know Sammy won one of them with Electrode.
Bianchi
and then
with Typhlosion.
Bianchi, I was sick for one of them, and then Bianchi just took my deck out of my backpack, and he went and played Typhlosion Magnezone at one of them, and he won. He beat Sammy in the finals, and Sammy was really upset. And then can't remember who won the 6th one.
This guy.
Leven.
Oh yeah. Pram beat Luke in the finals, one of them, and then I think the last one Harrison won when I was supposed to face Mike Cannabis in top 4, and I had to fly home.
Now, what decks did Pram and Harrison both play?
Harrison played Chandelure.
I switched it up. I played Magnezone, Magnezone Electric for most of it, but I also played Durant on the third one. On the third one, because I was like, this is gonna be my last time I'm gonna be able to play Durant in this series, isn't it? So maybe I'll get lucky and just avoid all the fire before it gets out of control. But I didn't realize by then it had already became all Typhlosion all day. And then I played Electrode at the one Bianchi won, and the rest of them were Magnezone Electric.
Okay. So the one that you won was?
Magnezone Electric.
Okay. Thunderdome.
Oh yeah. Thunderdome.
Yeah. Well, we'll call it Thunderdome. It was honorable. Thunderdome. So either way, at this point in time, you guys had a really cool metagame evolution. And I thought that was really cool to see. The SoCal Marathon was going, I believe, the week after yours, I believe. And it's kind of the same thing happened with us, except for ours was a little bit more diverse, and ours was just all over the place. Your guys' was a little bit more well-fleshed. But the Thunderdome did happen to win a couple of cities in that marathon. So at that point, I really did believe that it was becoming the most established deck at the time. And then after that, if I remember correctly, for the rest of the cities and whatnot, Thunderous Magnezone really started dominating the
Thunderous Magnezone? We don't even mention the Electric.
It was Thunderdome, all right? Thunderous Magnezone. Who cares about the other Pokemon? It was Thunderdome. And it really started dominating the format. And, I mean, it was cool to watch. It was cool to watch the deck kind of progress into one of the better decks, if not the best deck in the format. And then all of a sudden, something happened. And
Mewtwo came out?
Yeah, I say something happened because the truth is something big happened. Something huge happened. And,
it's almost like we're talking about like some kind of natural disaster happened, and like, no one's allowed to speak of it. Like we have to like describe what happened, but we can't say its name.
Yeah, man. It's in my opinion, it really is kind of like almost like a natural disaster. Like Mewtwo honestly just completely wrecked the format as we knew it. Everything that we knew to be true, and honestly, I really thought that the format was really really well off. Like it was just so healthy, and everything about the format just like was so fun. And then Mewtwo comes around and really shakes things up in a way that I personally didn't like, and I do know that most other people didn't. But then we had to get used to a completely different game. This was no longer a game where people could evolve and kind of like drag games out and have 30-minute wars. It was more of a all right, let's make sure that I don't lose the Mewtwo war. So
I still
game
evolved.
completely changed. The game completely changed, and really it stayed this way for pretty much the rest of the season. Granted, there was some Vileplume evolutions here and there and whatnot, but for the most part, really it stayed with the really fast basic kind of feel to it. So how did you guys feel about this change, and how did you guys kind of adapt, and how did you guys feel the format? Was it better off or was it not?
I thought
If we could make a chart, it would be like Battle Roads, regionals, cities, states. And from there it was just like cities was the peak. It was the beautiful part of the format. And then Mewtwo came out and everything just exploded.
Correct.
I did pretty okay during states and regionals. I thought, like...
I mean, you can do okay, but the format still...
Well, I thought at the time a lot of people didn't understand how to use Mewtwo correctly. So, you like, even though they were just sending out... They were just, like, going, Mewtwo, 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 and I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna win now, thank you. So,
yeah, but, like, for example, the format itself, do you feel like it was still as healthy? Do you feel like it was still, like... Because obviously
Pram doesn't gauge the formats, he just gauges how often he wins. That's how he decides how much he likes the format.
That's actually pretty accurate. So,
all right.
I like the format. I was doing pretty well.
Alright, well, for us normal people, Drew and Harrison, Drew, we'll go with you first. How did you like the format change? And obviously we've already beaten the Mewtwo stick.
Well, I only played like 10 games after those cards came out, so I don't really care overall, but yeah, that's my opinion.
Just take my word for it. It was pretty fun.
Alright, Harrison?
It didn't look very fun.
Can you please beat some sense into Pram here? Bring it aside with him.
I didn't like the format anymore because Pokemon can do more than 130 damage, so I couldn't play Sandalore.
That's a good point. Alright, so yeah, the format completely changed. We had EXs. The EX completely changed the format. And that's kind of how, how Nationals and Worlds kind of progressed. And we got to see those, luckily, through recorded matches and through the stream finals at Worlds. We got to see how the format was completely different, and now it's more beatdown. It's more big basic against big basic. Try to maneuver damage counters to where you can actually take your first 6 prizes, and that's the game as it stands now. Now, granted, the new Dragon's Exalted set came out, and it is going to completely change the format again. We are going to be seeing evolutions again because Black and White. Because we have a format rotation, which includes now Black and White on only. So we're going to lose Junkrat, we're going to lose a lot of things, and that's what we have to look forward to for the future, for actually the immediate future, because the Battle Roads are starting next week, I think. So they came really fast. And how do you guys feel about the new format? How do you guys feel about the upcoming season? Are you guys kind of excited for this, or are you guys kind of like anxious, nervous that it might not be?
I have so many gimmick decks lined up.
Alright. Mr. Hype's Lot over here comes up with a new best deck in the format every hour.
Dude, the Rayquaza 52 energy deck is really good, I'm sure.
You have 4 Ultra Balls in there too, remember?
Yeah, 52.
Oh yeah, 52, you're right.
You do math, 4 plus 4 is 8.
Alright, you're right.
Let me tell you, you're not going to win many games with that deck.
No, but if I can do a race with someone like, if we both play the same deck, who can get the 10 wins first in the least amount of games? It's on.
Right. So, Drew, you almost funny how you're so blatant about saying, I haven't really had much of a chance to play lately, blah 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 blah. Are you gonna have a chance to play this upcoming season, or are you gonna be focusing more on the? No, you're shaking your head already.
My initial reaction is no, but they're gonna change around the tournament schedule, or the point system. So maybe I'll be able to play a little more. I'm not gonna throw myself under the bus right away, but I think I won't be able to play. I might be doing like your kind of thing, where I try to go to places and commentate when I can. Try to be as involved as possible. If I can't, if it's like obvious that I can't qualify as soon as they release it, then I'll probably just commentate the whole season. Try to do that kind of thing, because it's just not worth my time to play in events that I'm not going to qualify anyways. I might as well try to promote the game.
Okay. So, how do you feel about the format? Have you had a chance to take a look at it?
There's a lot of interesting cards that came out. I haven't really played it all. I didn't play it all, or really play that much last season either, so...
Alright, let me ask you a better question.
Underprepared.
Let me ask you a better question then. Do you plan on playing on Pokemon Online, PTCGO?
Oh, yeah, man. I can't wait. I got my stack of codes somewhere over here. It's like...
Well, as soon as we're done with the show, you can definitely input.
I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
So, yeah, I do hope to see you quite a bit on PTCGO, because that's where most of my gameplay is going to be going to, too. Harrison, you had a fantastic season. You already have your invite. How do you feel? Are you going to be playing this season as much as you played last season, seeing as how you've already accomplished the goal?
I'll be staying within Florida for everything except for Nationals and Worlds. And I'll pretty much be staying in Central Florida for everything. Like, I probably won't travel at all for battle roads or cities, except for maybe a marathon, because those are always fun to go to.
Yeah, you've earned that right. Like, being one of the only, I believe, 4 people in Masters that can actually say this currently, you definitely earned that right, and it's going to be cool to see you already qualify for Vancouver. And you know what? If you don't want to go to Battle Roads and it's right down the street, you don't have to. So that's obviously one of the perks of doing so well. Have you had a chance to take a look at this format, and what are your first initial thoughts on it?
I don't like how few draw supporters there are, like how few options. Like,
it does seem like most of the decks are kind of like a core set amount of cards that are every deck shares, and then you have your Pokemon and whatnot.
That's what happens when there's only like 6 sets.
Yeah, exactly. And only 6 sets is kind of scary to actually think about, because 6 sets is quite a few, but still.
Not when 2 of the sets share the same supporters.
Exactly. Exactly. So, Kyle, I'm going to ask you the same question.
Yeah? What question is that?
How do you how do you feel about the format rotation now, and do you plan on...
Yeah, I know. I just wanted you to say it again.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I don't think the format actually changed a whole lot, at least from the games I played so far. There's just... I mean, you said there might rotate more towards evolutions, but I really haven't seen that at all. The only deck that can claim to be an evolution deck is the Garchomp Altaria one.
That is an evolution deck.
Yeah, I don't even think that deck's that good, though. It's very vulnerable to the shiny Rayquaza that just knocks out all your basics for 1 energy. I don't think it does very well against that. I don't even think it beats the Darkrai Hydreigon deck, which would be... I wouldn't count that as an evolution deck, just because it's just kind of like the Kling Klang, where you're basically just attacking with basics, but you just have an engine to move the energy off and heal them. So I still think it's heavily focused on basics. I mean, Rayquaza EX coming out, that's just going to make things more focused around basics. That card's really good, by the way. Knocking out other EXs is pretty ridiculous, and the only thing that really knocks it out is dragons. So I think Electric's still good, the Darkrai Hydreigon thing's good, and I just think those are the 2 top decks, and I don't know where everything else falls. And I can't hear Krim.
Yeah, me neither. I was wondering if it was just me. I was just like...
Alright, how about now?
Yeah.
What?
Right,
no,
cool.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, you can. So one other thing that I want to mention before we go on to the viewer questions, which obviously, please, if you have any questions, ask them on our Facebook page, facebook.com/TopCutPokemon, is we now have word that we are no longer going to have 40 people from North America qualified for the World Championships next year. We are now going to have a threshold. The threshold hasn't been announced yet, but we know that it should be around 50. I mean, really, that was the threshold that we were looking at the beginning of towards the end of this season. How do you guys feel about this new thing, and do you feel like it's going to affect anything? Obviously, we haven't gotten every detail, so this is only a preliminary look. But what's your initial reaction?
Well,
Pram first.
I don't think I don't know whether it's going to be around 50 or not, because I have no idea what the standard is for what they're basing points off of. So like, it's hard to say, but I think overall this is a good move, but it can backfire a little bit too. Like there's if they give too many points for battle roads, like come the end of the season, like anyone who's at 1 or 2 points away, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you have the potential for like the entire tournament just to be kind of rigged almost for that one person.
I mean, to be fair, it was pretty much the same deal.
Yeah, but it's kind of be like more widespread because you're like I can see it being more widespread because it's not like you're gonna bump someone off by doing this. It's just like, hey, everyone gets in.
Okay.
So I think
I share your sentiment.
I think there's they have to be very careful on where they allow points to be come from.
Okay. Drew, you're either frozen or you're really thinking very hard on this question. So either way, okay, I guess you weren't thinking very hard. How do you feel about the announcement?
I like it. I feel like, I don't know. It depends how they announce it. If they have the hard cutoff announced before the season, or if they kind of see how whatever changes they had develop, and they're like, oh, it's gonna be this 2 weeks right before nationals or something. It just really depends how they announce it. I feel if they try to because if they change the point system a lot before this season, and then they announce it before the season, it's gonna be kind of weird. I think it could possibly be a lot of people or little people that make that cutoff. So I don't know. I really just want to see how the information comes out, personally.
Yeah, I believe they said that they're going to come out, roll it out really, really soon. They're just fleshing out the last couple details. So we should expect. I mean, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but we should expect to see these details within the next coming weeks. I'd say before the next 3 or so weeks are over.
I think
my initial reaction is really good though, positive.
Okay. Good,
I think if they do announce what the point cutoff is, they should highball it, because if they want to change it later, because they can at least lower the bar. Because if you do it the other way around, where you just go, oh, there's too many people coming in, and you raise the bar all of a sudden, that would be
that's
terrible.
impossible. They wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe the bar will just be too high at first, and then we'll see. Maybe they'll lower it. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's an imperfect system, absolutely, and that's just the way. I mean, for the most part, any of these things are going to be. But we've seen them make improvements throughout the season, and I honestly do believe that it's an improvement from last season. I wasn't really a fan of last season's methods, and I think that they might be taking a step in the right direction. Harrison, do you agree with us?
With our two
really
differing opinions.
It really all depends how they announce it, how many points they make it. I can't see it being the same amount of points for each division within North America, because you have people the point cutoff this year for seniors was something within the 50s, where for masters it was literally 49. It's just such a big difference, and some junior or senior can get 60 points when that's our maximum for the most part.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you're right. That there is a point discrepancy, and they might actually have to change it up depending on age division. Who honestly knows? Like I said, this is very preliminary. We're barely getting the first details rolled out, and really we're just kind of giving a first impression. So, is your first impression positive or negative?
I liked it.
All right, cool. That's good. Kyle, what about yours?
I like it. I'm just scared that they'll put the bar at a bad point.
What do you think a
much
bad
else to
point
say.
would be to put you on the spot?
Too high. When they're going to change battle roads, I don't think, like, if they go off of last season's totals, and then they're just like, oh, we're changing battle roads, by the way, where there's no top cut anymore. I think that's a bad idea. Otherwise, I don't really know.
Okay. Now, it is interesting to note that they're also adding I mean, they're not adding regionals, but they're adding another week for regionals. So you never know how they're going to do their best finish limits, or even if they're going to have best finish limits anymore. So really, everything's up in the air. I do think that there is a reasonably good chance, at least in my opinion, that that it's not a coincidence that we have another regionals and we're getting a new kind of like a bar set. So I don't know. This is all speculation on my part, and I'm as excited as everybody else to kind of hear the rest of the details. But like I said, I think we all kind of share the sentiment that it's positive. We're a little reserved right now because honestly we have no way to actually know if it's going to work out or not, seeing as how there's no other details shared. But for the most part, it's exciting. It's good to know that we're not going to be competing against each other to see if we're going to have who the top 40 is going to be. And now it's just going to be like kind of it won't be so much a race as it will be kind of like I don't know, a marathon. I don't know. It probably doesn't make sense either. Doesn't matter. Either way, we're going to be going into the viewer questions part of the show right now. We're going to be taking a short break and kind of drinking some water and whatnot. So we'll be back in a few minutes, and see you guys soon.